I wanted to talk about the mental health awareness and my mental health awareness around things that might be useful to you. And because the day that it is representing this, I thought that it was a time as ever to sort of break down why and how I was probably humbled by what I did. And when I say what I did, I just mean what happened as a result of what we was doing at the time. I hold this like a trophy at this point, genuinely. The approach and the outlook I had to have about my mental health around what happened. So without being too vague, my name's Spencer Lyon and I started a vintage and second-hand clothing company called Gully Garms in 2012 from a bedroom in my parents' house in Birstall in the East Midlands. While studying for a degree, the business was growing, and at the time I had to employ a best friend to come and help adhere to the workload. And this best friend was somebody who stayed with me for years. The business continued to grow, and it was in my second year of university when I realized that this was something serious, and it was turning over more money than I could imagine me even generating. The money's not the point that matters in here, but it's just a point of placement for how the next sort of years ensued. So Gully Garms grew to be a big company, and it grew to be a big company because everything I did was putting everything I had into this, bringing a team of people. Hopefully, in my mind, they were like-minded individuals, but realistically, they were just people that I liked hanging around at the time. And that's okay, because owning the reality of what was is better than blindsiding like something that wasn't. These were my friends, and I employed them, and they remained my friends for the time we worked together. So the reason why I wanted to use this video to talk about like my mental health or the situation around it is I grew a business from a bedroom and it started to generate over £1 million a year. But I never really thought about my mental health during the times that I built a brand. And it was only when it fell and when I had to close it for the first time, and the first and only time, should I say, but the time I had to close it was when I really had to look in the mirror and take some accountability for how I felt around what had just happened. It was almost like the whole brand being built was like a film, and you leave the cinema and go, wow, that was an experience. But this was a reality that I was living, and this was a place that I was living really with, but I wasn't here in my mind. I was in the shadows or the situations of maybe I could make this much money, maybe we could do this, because that's what setting up a business and maintaining a business is like. Especially when it's something that's focused and homed around fashion and creating a concept, creating a cool imagery. It's all about how you manage that and maintain that. At the time of running a brand, I wasn't eating the best food that I ever did. I wasn't considering myself as a person of it. I was just doing the job and building this brand. But where does the mental health sit in all of this? Like, what's the whole relevance of it? I didn't take care of myself during the brand being built, and therefore I wasn't aware of its real demise and fall at the point that I could have probably noticed the cracks before. I decided to take on lots of staff, and I had 15 to 20 members of staff, and I wanted to build a brand more than building an empire of clothing I was selling. It was all about the people, all about this connectivity, all about this communication, something I was looking for within it. But COVID and Brexit happened, and situations with friends that, guess what? Friends don't remain friends all the time. And when you employ friends, you mix business with pleasure. And it's something that honestly, minus Marge as my mum who I've employed, I wouldn't recommend or advise that to anybody. I don't think it's good. And the reason why is because when the business actually closed, I had to take accountability for how I felt. I had to take accountability for how I ran a brand. And I had to take accountability for myself, most importantly, and the actions of what I'd done and the outcome of what had happened. And I don't regret any of it. I don't regret employing friends. I don't regret jumping off to a website. I don't regret like having all of these buildings. I just wish that at the time I was a lot more aware of how I mentally felt. Because one of the biggest learning curves I had about this was I essentially paused the way I felt mentally about the whole thing I did, and I wasn't aware of my mental state throughout building a brand. And that accountability will hit you like a ton of bricks if you're not aware. And what I mean by that is I forgot that it's me that mattered for me. I forgot that it's all about me before it's about everybody else. If I'm good, I can ensure everything else is good. And as a result, I wasn't good, and everything else around became what it became. COVID and Brexit are two things that I could have never predicted, and employability issues are something that you just learn from it happening. But I still take that accountability of looking at how I wasn't present in myself with these things that I did. And the reason why I'm coming here to you, YouTube, and coming to you, the internet, to talk about my mental health and the awareness around it is because a big lesson that I learned within this is something that you might be able to save yourself and be able to understand it so that you don't have to go down the same route. And it's nothing cryptic, really. You just got to take care of yourself. You've got to remember that if you're not right here, and you're not right here, you're not right anywhere. So one of the first things that I did as a real mindful practice was starting to meditate once the business had closed, and finding that mindful practice and self-awareness by reflection and being present, sitting with oneself, sitting with the thoughts, sitting with the mindset, letting it run away with itself and letting these scenarios play out. Because when you run a brand, you don't have time to think, how are you? I know people that run brands today and still run businesses within the UK, and they look stressed. And they're so far gone at this stressful point of they think it's all about running a business that it's hard to even instill this perspective. But for any of you who see this, you might be in the middle of thinking whether a brand is what you want to do. You might just be a small bedroom seller. You might be inspired by the story that I've lived, and as a result, you want to see if you could get your own version of that. And I think more power to all of you individuals that want to do that, genuinely and wholeheartedly. I wish you nothing but success with what you do. But please do me a favor before you go about your journey. Make sure it's okay. Take time. You don't have to rush any part of the process. Nobody's urgently waiting for any part of this. You really can just be still amongst the chaos. And remember, everything is still. The chaos is what you create in here. So some practices that I do that might be useful to you is I don't vocalize anything that I don't finalize through my internalized state. And what I mean by that is simply think before you speak, but with a bit more of a poetic approach. And what I mean by that is the narrative in your head is the story that you will tell out loud very quickly without realizing. I get anxious about these situations. This makes me nervous. I don't know how to go about this. But sit with that thought. Don't vocalize it. Don't be so quick to to get it out like it's a Tourette. It's not. It's an internal thought that's being challenged by your internal state to make you question whether that's something you want to fixate to and hold on to, or whether you want to leave it and just watch it like a cloud that's just passing by. You don't need to attach to every single thought you have. You just need to be aware that you are going to keep having thoughts. And that was what happened with me. Running a business every day, waking up, we've got to make £1,000 by this time, this has got to happen, member of staff, stress, continued levels of just a changed inner state. I don't know whether it's about cortisol levels or what it was internally, but if I'd ran that business under that pretense without the awareness of reflection on the self for a few more years, I probably wouldn't be here to stand here and make this video. Because running a business is stressful. And running a business when you aren't somebody who's been business inclined your life, it becomes more stressful because you aren't skilled directly to do this. And you have to learn on the job whilst the job's developing and people are wanting to learn the job as well. And it really helps you, it really forces you, to multitask. But this is why I want to come back to this stillness in the chaos. We all think that we have to get everything, this, and I'm going to get on Vinted, and I'm going to do YouTube, and I'm going to do this, and by this week. You just don't need to do any of it. You need to pause. And when I say pause, you really need to sit and pause. And this isn't to say, really think about if you want to do this. I'm not trying to lead you down a path that you're not leading yourself in your mind. But but walk down the thought with your thoughts and go, okay, do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? How will I ensure that something bad doesn't happen as a result? What's my own internal contingency plan of making sure that I'm okay? Because the whole point about one's mental health is here. It starts in your own internal state. Being mentally aware of how you feel, being emotionally intelligent enough to articulate how you feel and understand how you feel, and to remember that you only control how you react to any situation. And that control is all you need to be aware of. I couldn't control Brexit, I couldn't control COVID, but I sure thought I could. And I let a relationship I had at the time fall to its floor as well. And I had a lot of situations around me that went in a simultaneous route to the business because I thought I could control all of these situations. But you can't. And you can only control how you react to it. And that controlling how you react is one of the most sincerely genuine ways of developing an understanding for how you can just be. I can't stop somebody telling me something. I can't stop something happening that's out of my control. But how you react is important. It's important for that mental state. It's important for that internal being. You know, you start putting a load of rubbish in your body, this temple here, it's not going to really appreciate you, is it? And it's the same with the mind. The way that you think about yourself, the way that you talk about yourself, the way that you talk about yourself to others out loud, again, not just the internalization, but the vocalization of this internalization. You're amazing. And you all are. And you've got to just tell yourself that and believe it or know it and own it. The journey to self-reflection and self-awareness of being in a present state, finding stillness in the chaos and just being a calm individual didn't come overnight. And it's still something that I don't think I have completely developed because I'm a human too who reacts like a human sometimes. But you're allowed to react like a human because that's what you are. Just don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself more than you need to be. Nurture your own internal state. And that nurturing, this nurturing, putting it out into the world, it feels better when it feels honest. Man, it feels quite... I haven't really got emotional in a long time, to be honest with you, but speaking about this is quite emotional internally. It makes me feel quite sad on reflection, but very warm on the growth that I had. Because I don't live in a stressful state anymore. And I live in the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I know where I am right now. And more importantly, I know where I am right now. I'm here. I'm talking to you. In a church. In Ashby de la Zouch of Leicester. My name's Spencer Lyon. And I too have experienced mental health to the side of something I had to work on. And I really thought and felt like this was a hard situation to come out of, but I worked on the internal narrative of my story. I stopped talking out the negative story about myself. I found empowerment in being proud of what I've done and who I am. And even now it's hard to do that. But I have. And I am. I don't really have much more of a message for you on this video. And I didn't really know what to expect with how I was going to feel talking about this. And I feel quite internally emotional. Because it's real. Because it really happened. And that's one of the things with understanding it. It happens. You take one day at a time. You take it at the speed that you need to take. But you're not in competition with anybody other than yourself. And the thing you have to do is get this right. And just really just be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't talk down to yourself, because you're worth so much more. But yeah, this is a bit of a different video. Hopefully, if I've decided to be a bit more of a filmmaker here, I'd have got some nice shots of this cathedral. Get the £9 worth for the entry. I am joking. Ish. No, I am. It's good to share, guys. It's good to be open with how you feel. It's good to be honest and authentic. So guys, I'm Spencer Lime, and I'm here to just tell you my side of the story, or my perspective on where I am right now with my mind. Hope you're all good, and I'm sending nothing but positive energy to all of your beautiful people's way. So stay safe, stay sustainable, keep doing you, and I'll see you all later on. Stay smiling as well, if there's anything else I can let you do.